Like wheels on a track, time rolls on.
Union Station is symbolic of all that's good about Kansas City.
But the fast track to fame comes with bumps in the road.
The holes in the ceiling, the water pooling on the floors, and plaster falling down.
This story is a rebirth.
All this comes down to Science City Union Station.
It's a testament to teamwork.
It's a huge undertaking. There's always going to be bumps in the road.
It shows us how we got here and where we're going.
A building can have meaning. It can have connection to a community. It can even have a future life.
So come aboard. This is Back on Track, a revitalized Union Station.
A landmark, a backdrop, a meeting place, a destination. Union Station has played a lot of roles in the lives of Kansas Cityans. 2024 marks 25 years since the revitalized Union Station. 25 years since the landmark reopened with major renovations, mirroring a resurgence not only in Kansas City, but the entire region. So let's go back to the basics. Union Station got its start in the West Bottoms in the 1870s. It was originally called Union Depot, but after flooding and other issues, it was relocated to where it is today in 1914. Everything else grew around it.
These would have probably been all around like 1930s, 40s.
Our story starts on a high note. Michael Wells, a special collections librarian with the KC Public Library, walked us through it.
Ridership reached its peak in 1945.
That's over 670,000 travelers coming through Union Station, eating at the Fred Harvey restaurant and buying war bonds.
I just think it just captures it when it was sort of in its prime.
Post-war Union Station in the 1950s, 60s, 70s looked a lot different.
Obviously, you have the advent of the automobile age. Every use for Union Station at that time is on the decline.
In 1971, the city's newly developed Landmarks Commission was able to get Union Station on the National Registry of Historic Preservation.
And cities and people around the country are starting to realize that our architectural heritage is maybe worth preserving.
That didn't save day-to-day at Union Station. Ridership fell to the lowest, just over 32,000 travelers in 1973, and it slowly declined until Amtrak left in 1985.
Once Amtrak left and that final restaurant closed up in the 1980s, there was nothing going on in there. And then it fell into just serious disrepair. I mean, even beyond just some flaking off plaster, the structure of the building sort of rotting away at that point.
But then there was a turn. A recipe for renewal brought a lot of support on board.
This is an agenda for a public program, June 28th, 1986. And it's just a community forum, like what can we do? And it leads to this idea that maybe we need to get some public funding to help out with this.
This brings us to the bi-state proposal. 5 counties, Jackson, Clay, and Platte in Missouri, and Johnson and Wyandotte in Kansas, all voting on a 1/8 cent sales tax to go towards Union Station restoration.
This is kind of a guide to it that I thought was really fun. What the money will be used for, it's not a forever tax. It just very clearly explains all this to people.
In 1996, 4 of the 5 counties voted in favor of the tax, a reflection of just how important Union Station is to the entire metro, not just those in Missouri.
Any notable Kansas Citian you can think of, any civic organization, it just really represents the amount of goodwill Kansas Citians had for Union Station.
In 1999, Union Station reopened with a lot of what you'd see today.
I didn't expect Kansas City's station to be like as big and impressive.
Shops, restaurants, exhibits.
I love the exhibits. Every time there's an exhibit, I always come.
And of course, Science City. But in Michael's eyes, it also opened up space for the historic preservation movement in KC.
A building can have meaning. It can have connection to a community. It can even have a future life.
Amtrak rolled back in 2002, a metaphorical cherry on top of a long journey to get to where we are today.
So it was neat to read some of the history and see how it came together and the scale.
Reading about this, it made me very hopeful that someday we can find something to work together on again.
Starting and ending on a high note. Everyone has a personal memory or experience at Union Station, like this couple who took their wedding photos here.
I've been here with my parents. I've been here for the science area for kids because I've lived here my whole life. So it just felt natural.
It just It looks beautiful all the time, regardless of the season.
Our Lily O'Shea Becker takes a look back at some of the most impactful moments of shared experience.
Some of the city's most memorable moments have taken place right here at Union Station over the last decade. And it all started with that Royals World Series celebration in 2015.
We're all going to celebrate the Royals!
An estimated 800,000 people gathered in downtown Kansas City to celebrate the Royals' win. About 200,000 were outside Union Station, according to the MLB. Union Station president and CEO George Costello said he remembers that day vividly.
It was such a momentous time in Kansas City's history.
And 5 years later, Kansas City would do it again. Not in blue, but this time in red.
Well, that was a whole different experience.
It was frigid cold, but Chiefs fans showed up for the first Super Bowl celebration in almost 50 years.
I love this city to death. I cherish every moment with y'all.
That cherished moment was just weeks before the world shut down.
We stand and speak united as one.
Local leaders announced a 30-day stay-at-home order from Union Station in March 2020.
We need to reduce the spread this way because it's unlikely we'll be able to test everybody.
The world would eventually rebound and celebrations return.
Super Bowl champion!
In 2023, there was another sea of red. And just a couple months later, Union Station hosted the 2023 NFL Draft. Some say it's the biggest event ever in Kansas City. Over 3 days, more than 300,000 people gathered at Union Station, and 54 million people tuned in to watch on TV. February 2024, Union Station was the backdrop again for another Super Bowl celebration. This time, there was chaos. A shootout happened outside the rally security perimeter, right off Union Station grounds.
Well, we just heard a bunch of, pop, pop, and people started running and scattering.
23 people were shot, and Lisa Lopez Galvan died.
She was a well-known Latina DJ.
Lisa's daughter, Adriana, returned to Union Station in October.
That was my first time coming back after February 14.
Union Station unveiled this memorial in Lisa's memory. It has all her favorite things.
Roses, they were her favorite. You see the mariachi band. My grandpa is a very big mariachi player.
The mural is right inside one of the building's entrances.
Yeah, I love that my mom could just welcome everybody who's here.
What better place than Union Station to be the location to tell the rich story of Lisa and her life.
There are so many stories told here, sometimes to educate. A few years ago, Union Station hosted its most attended exhibit, Auschwitz. Not long ago, not far away.
It has changed our community, and it is making a lasting impact.
Those stories included Holocaust survivors who relocated to Kansas City. Survivor and Johnson County resident Judy Jacobs said it's important to teach world history, even if it's horrific.
I think people need to know and hopefully avert that in the future.
Whether it's remembering the past or rejoicing in the present, it's all a part of Union Station's revitalization. Lily O'Shea Becker, KSHB 41 News.
Another exhibit is making its mark on the history books. As of November 2024, Disney 100 is the second most visited exhibition in Union Station history. It celebrates Walt Disney and his 100 years of magic.
This exhibition and exhibitions like this are really what allows this very small not-for-profit to succeed. All those dollars stay right here to save the building and allow us to bring in other exhibitions such as this.
Union Station's rebirth may have never happened without a groundbreaking collaboration.
It was a massive campaign. It was the first effort of its kind in the nation.
After the break, you'll hear from some of the people who played an instrumental role in bringing the landmark back to life. And later, a look into the future, predicting what's next for the Kansas City icon. You're watching Back on Track, a revitalized Union Station.
We proved that working together is far superior than people working in their separate corners.
Hundreds of people travel on Amtrak every day here at Union Station, but it wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the bi-state tax. It took a lot of work and collaboration to make that happen in 1996. It was historic. No other city in the country had done it before. I talked to some of the leaders who helped make it happen.
Just like clockwork, the holiday decorations come out well before Thanksgiving at Union Station. trimming the tree and hanging the lights, all ahead of the holiday rush. But Rudolph and his gumdrops would not be here had it not been for the bi-state tax. In fact, none of this would be here.
The project was just too large for, any one city or any one county to handle the scope of the renovation required.
Lisa Adkins was a supporter of the campaign.
There was great enthusiasm, but I don't think everyone thought that this could really happen.
But it did. Jackson, Clay, Platte, and Johnson County voted in favor of a 1/8 cent sales tax, what became known as the bi-state tax.
And what they authorized was the collection of $118 million in local taxes.
On top of being Union Station's cheerleader, Lisa became the Bi-State Commission's first chairman.
To make sure that there was public integrity to the money that was collected and that the tax money that was spent, and that there was deep accountability and transparency around the use and collection of those dollars. And that's exactly what happened in this case.
Ed Eilert, the former mayor of Overland Park, also served.
Every county that voted yes, and every city in the county that had 50,000 population or more had a representative.
What made this vote unique? Opening up to counties on both sides of the state line, not just Jackson.
I think the original idea was that it was a metropolitan facility, and everybody on both sides of the state line used the facility at some time for some reason.
The only county that voted it down was Wyandotte. We reached out to Carol Marinovich, who was the mayor at the time. She said there was a lack of campaigning for it in her county, and her residents were unaware of why it was important. Congressman Emmanuel Cleaver doesn't remember any opposition group.
It was like, hey, this is going to be good. This is one of the better things that we've done recently.
As time passes, one thing he does remember is the first time he saw Union Station during an NFL game on TV.
Union Station was lighted, and the red lights and the blue lights all around the building, and I almost fainted in ecstasy. Just looking at it, I went, oh my goodness, oh, somebody come help me.
Lisa can agree. It brought significant change to the city.
It was a catalyst for, Midtown and downtown and, everything that rippled from that.
It only took 4 years to collect the money needed from the tax. And while there's no current bi-state tax, voters can approve another one down the road.
If it's a good project, if it's solid, and the picture can be painted clearly for the voters on the value, I think it'll happen.
It's hard to bring people together, but it was residents across the metro who voted to make Union Station better.
We are a community that will come together. We got a history of doing it.
It's those same people who voted to make sure traditions like these continue, creating holiday magic in a space where everyone feels welcome, time and time again. A few years after Union Station reopened, the Chiefs and Royals tried to pass a similar bi-state tax. But this time, while voters in Jackson County passed it, those in Clay County, Missouri, and Johnson County, Kansas, voted it down.
There has to be a solution. We have to find a way to ensure the future of the Chiefs and the Royals in Kansas City.
The teams ended up proposing a tax only in Jackson County, which voters passed in 2006. If that sounds familiar, there's a reason. The Chiefs and Royals are once again asking for a sales tax in Jackson County to renovate Arrowhead and build a new Royals ballpark downtown.
This is a moment again in Kansas City's history that is a game changer.
But voters shot down that proposal in April 2024. The teams are still working to find another solution. Union Station's impact spread far beyond its walls.
Union Station is just a center hub for the whole city, so every big event seems to have some tie to Union Station.
From the streetcar to small businesses, we'll take a look at how the landmark is changing the surrounding community.
Who would have ever imagined 25 years ago that the streetcar would be back here? Who would have thought that it would be the centerpiece for civic, for post office, for trains, for restaurants?
Union Station is much more than just a beacon of Kansas City's rich history and bright future. The historic landmark is also revolutionizing the city's urban core, attracting small businesses and bringing people to the heart of downtown. Our Daniela Leon looks at how this is impacting our community and reshaping the way we connect.
Union Station, a catalyst of the growth seen across Kansas City, helping communities across the City of Fountains connect through its temporary exhibits and get a taste of KC.
This is one of our busiest locations. We see a lot of people, especially with like the train, and commerce is coming up in Kansas City, and so it's just the city has grown and grown and grown, and we've definitely benefited from it.
Parisi Coffee opened its doors at Union Station in 2011, becoming one of the station's first tenants. Since their opening, staff has proudly poured coffee to customers from all over the world while taking part in some of KC's biggest celebrations and festivities.
Everyone comes to Union Station when they come visit the Kansas City for the first time. The attractions here are getting bigger and bigger and better, and everyone wants to come and see what we have.
Fueling a continuous wave of new customers for Parisi and Union Station visitors, the Kansas City streetcar.
We're carrying almost 2 million people a year up and down Main Street, and almost a third of our passengers are boarding and alighting right here at Union Station. So it's the busiest stop on the streetcar route.
Further economic development is expected as the streetcar continues to work on its extension, while also paving the way for a new chapter at its Union Station stop.
Its position on our alignment is going to take on a whole new meaning as we grow south 3.5 miles, and the station really becomes the center of activity for us.
While changes are coming, Union Station is still poised to remain as one of the main hubs of community engagement in KC.
Union Station is just a center hub for the whole city, so every big event seems to have some tie to Union Station.
Daniela Leon, KSHB 41 News.
Who better to talk about Union Station and Science City than someone who's been here since the new beginning?
I really care about the place I live, the place I work, and the people that work here.
We talked to Sherry, one of Science City's longest employees, and what's next for one of Kansas City's greatest attractions.
It's part of the fabric, the tapestry, the DNA, so to speak, of Kansas City and so many Kansas Cityans.
Union Station isn't just an entertainment and travel destination like here at Science City, but it's also an economic driver as well. On the second floor of Union Station, the KC Area Development Council is working to bring new businesses to the area. I talked to its president and CEO, Tim Cowden, and he said a big part of selling the KC Metro is Union Station.
All of us across the region and so many more across our country look at Union Station as a beacon for Kansas City.
Tim said Union Station may be 100 years old, but it's going to be around for 100 more years. And what keeps this place going is Kansas Cityans. I got to talk to a Science City employee, Sherry, who keeps this place running and hopes to do so for many more years.
I know the place pretty well.
Sherry Tyhurst walked us through what she calls her second home, Science City.
We have an exhibit called I Spy, and all of our members and loyal people to Science City will remember this area as Mr. E Hotel.
It was her first job out of college.
I've gotten to grow with this place. I've been through a lot here with the histories.
25 years later, she's still having fun.
I literally told somebody the other day, nobody cares about Science City as much as I do.
Science City didn't look like this when Sherry started in 2000.
The first year was hard. I don't think people understood exactly what a science center was and what the concept was.
She's watched it evolve.
We kind of learned along the way what the guests expected, and then I think guests also learned what a science center was and how it fits in their community.
The people that saved the building had no idea what the stories were going to be.
George Westello has served as president and CEO of Union Station for 17 years. He takes pride in the history of the space.
When you think of the opportunities of children just coming in with their parents, laying on the floor and looking up at our own Sistine Chapel and having that moment, it is passing those stories from one generation to another.
Just as Metro voters decades ago made all this happen, it'll take our community's involvement to keep it alive.
You know, we're just a simple not-for-profit. Every dollar that the community came and spent stayed here and allowed us to spend over the last 15 years well over $20 million in reinvesting in the business.
Every hat, t-shirt, and ticket goes into making sure Union Station continues to light up the Metro for years to come.
The clock still ticks.
You can
Sherry's watched generations of families come through Science City.
People will say, I remember this when I was a kid, or I remember going here on a field trip when I was a child, and now I have a child.
She doesn't know what will happen in 25 years, but she's hopeful that she's here.
I really care about the place I live, the place I work, and the people that work here.
So as long as the Skybike is running and the robots are talking, Sherry will be here too.
And we'll be here documenting this historic landmark for generations to come. Thanks for joining us for Back on Track, a revitalized Union Station. I'm Caroline Hogan. Have a great day.